coming out, supporting my homie, man. You know, somebody from home soil. I'm from Cleveland, born and raised. It's an incredible place. I'm honored to come from there, to be part of that. I obviously represent New York heavily. I've been here since '93. I don't know if a lot of you know about me, but I'm a photographer, director. I've been at this since about '93. I've done like 8 Jay-Z album covers, 4 for Game, Rick Ross, like part of the family, many families, and many people also represented on Stalley's album. I've photographed and worked with for a really long time. So it is my great honor and privilege right now to bring out my friend, the homie, the big homie, Stalley, Ohio's finest. Keep the applause going, please. Please. I'm the old finest. He's the new, young finest. That's the one you got to pay attention to.
Thank you. How y'all doing? Y'all good? Thank y'all for coming out.
So I got a notepad because I want to get it right. I got deep and important questions to ask this evening. So we're gonna dive right in, man. You know, this is an epic moment for Ohio, I think, in general,
Truly.
in a lot of ways. You know, LeBron has come back. You know, Manziel, okay, I don't know about that. I'd say Stalley's contribution to Ohio at the moment is even more important than anything Manziel and his one catch down the sideline that was actually a penalty could ever have done. So, you know, I'm gonna dive into a couple of things, just simple questions, man. You know, kind of, hold on, let me get this right. First of all, I want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
It's your birthday in 2 days.
Yes, thank you.
It's an important and epic week,
Thank
man,
you.
to celebrate. You know, you made like a really quality project here. You know what I mean? But this is not your first. Like you're almost a legend in your own right already with the projects that you've done and touched. Honest Cowboy, Lincoln Way Nights, Savage Journey to American Dream, like all of these kind of things. Like you're an established OG artist.
Thank you.
And yet you say that you're at the beginning of your career. Explain what it means to be at the beginning of the career and to claim to be an original. What do those two things mean to you?
Man, you know, the reason why I say that I'm at the beginning of my career is because I feel like I'm just starting. I feel like this is the true introduction. I feel like the bodies of works that you just mentioned were kind of like the setup for this, you know, the growth. There's been so much progression, not only as an artist, but as a man. You know, I really feel like I've come into myself as a man, first and foremost, and I think that's helped me along the way through putting together these projects and putting together this album. Original, you know, that's just something that I've always been. I've always been that oddball, someone who didn't really fit in with the crowds, even though I was always the popular one and hung with the popular crew, but I was always that one that stuck out. And that's just naturally just by me being strong-minded, strong-willed to be myself, not afraid to be myself. Yeah, true, I'm a Scorpio, so very passionate.
Thanks. Yeah, man. I mean, look, you know, you can touch on it on so many levels. You know,
Yeah.
being born and raised there, you know, I think that there's some real, like, amazing old school values that you learn from being from the Midwest in general, but also from Cleveland especially. In your opening kind of line, the first line of the song obviously is the title of the album, Ohio, right? You paid homage, I think, in an amazing way to a lot of artists that are from Ohio. Bootsy Collins, Bone Thugs, Ohio Players, you know, and Roger Troutman that I actually didn't know was from Ohio, which is incredible because he's such an OG. What does Ohio mean to you? And you can interpret that however you want. Not the album, but the place. Like, what was your journey? Explain to me the 330 that you throw up so effectively every time.
Yeah, it means everything. You know, it's a hard-working, family-oriented community. You know, it's a place where everybody is prideful, everyone has each other's back, everyone supports each other. And that's really what it is, you know, in a nutshell. It's that simple. It's just about having those, the morals of being a good person. We were all raised and taught to just be a good person, respect thy neighbor, always look out for each other. If I have $1, you got 50 cents. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the type of community that I'm from, and I appreciate it because I carried that on to, you know, my adulthood, and I try to give those values through my music and to my family.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, you've shown it well. I mean, look, I'm jumping kind of to the outro of the album, but you spent quality time with your family to almost kind of, make them live forever.
Yeah.
Explain a little bit about how that came to be, because that makes you, in a lot of ways, different from a lot of these artists that are just repeating, line after line after line after line. Like, yeah, we got it in the first 3 seconds.
Right.
Like, this is an intelligent album. It goes in line with everything that you've always spoken about, but it does include family. Like, touch on that a little bit and why that was important.
Yeah, it was important to, have my kids to be a part of this album. This is my first baby, and they my babies too. So, to have them on the album, it was, an honor, that they were able to take time out of their busy schedules.
I bet they have more Twitter followers than me and Instagram followers.
To use the iPhone recorder and record me a nice message. And it's crazy because they all said that, the album was a classic or that it would live forever. And that's not something that I gave them to do. They kind of just did it on their own. So it was awesome, yeah.
That's some smart kids, man.
Yeah.
It's a testament to your upbringing,
they know
man,
what it
you know?
is. Nah.
Yeah, man, already. Another thing, and sort of along those same lines, is like, it's a really musical album. You know what I mean? Like, you can really go to some sweet spots, like the piano keys on Free, little like tuba, sort of bass line in the Navajo rugs, which I want to touch on really heavily
Shout
later.
out Rashad, he always putting tubas in the
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Over here. Stand up, man. We need to give you a round of applause, man.
Make some noise for Rashad one time.
I actually photographed him way back when, dude. A couple people on your album, man. I think I only missed August Alsina.
Oh, wow. So you got to get him.
Yeah,
definitely.
Man, when we go. How long did it take you to make this album? My understanding from speaking to the label is that it took, you took your time with it. It wasn't anything that had to be rushed and was demands on releasing it. It was like ready when it was ready, but I understand that there's like an arsenal of tunes. Explain to me your curation process and how you ended up with the 11 that are on the album.
Yeah, so for me, it's all about writing until completion, or until I feel it's complete, or until I feel like I sonically have a body of work that is conceptually fit. I have hundreds of like records, you know what I'm saying, but it's all about the way I narrowed it down to the 12 that I have on the album is definitely basically just me listening back to everything that I've recorded through the 6 months, because I think it took me about 6 months to record this project, on and off, not 6 months straight, but just on and off, in and out of the studio and being on the road. But it took me about 6 months to create this album. So through that 6 months, all the music that I made, I really just go back, listen to it, and then I pull a sound together, or I pull a story together that I feel fit or that I want to express at that time. And that's really how I did it.
I speak of, it's incredible. Sorry I devalued your album by saying it was only 11. No. It's 12. I'm sorry. You guys got a bonus track, from my analysis of it. My apologies. I look at Ohio and, especially being from Cleveland, we draw influence from a lot of different things, especially musically. Obviously, we have our own sound and our own sort of OGs kind of that have come through, some of whom I mentioned. But we pull stuff from Texas, sort of Bon B, Scarface, that kind of thing. A little bit of New York, a little bit of Detroit players, some of what's floating around the middle.
Yeah.
But there's a really heavy undercurrent of your project that lends itself well and really influences and pays homage and reverence and everything that you want to say to the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to touch on that influence and, just let me know sort of what sort of your love for the West Coast kind of is and how that affects you and how that market is massive.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, my love for the West Coast comes from just them producing good music, and somebody like Dr. Dre having an ear, a genius ear to dig into Ohio sound and create his own, version of that through, his beats that he made for NWA, Snoop, Tupac, himself. So even Eminem, you know what I'm saying? So it's just definitely me paying homage to that because they pay homage to us, and me just being a head of music and just really digging and, knowing the sounds that come from it and the originators. It's just definitely dope to see that it's appreciated, so far out. And then probably 20 years later even, 15, 20 years later. So, but that West Coast sound, I guess it touches home because it is home, so I guess guess that's why it touches so close to home. Sure. And it reminds me of a lot of the music that I heard running around in my diapers, you know, when my mom and, you know, my aunts and my dad or whoever was playing music, you know, they was playing Cameo or, you know, Zapp and Roger or whoever, and I was probably supposed to be in bed. They was playing Spades, drinking, and, you know, I was probably about to get a butt
early
whooping,
influences,
you know,
that's that 3-3.
But that's what I heard coming through the wall, so it probably just stuck with me. And this is just me saying probably because, you know, you don't know as you growing up what's going to stick with you, and I'm saying that's what probably stuck with me.
Sure. No, man, I think that's a huge part. You don't really forget. There's really like Cleveland and Ohio, I think, in general, and Massillon and the whole thing, man, you know, Dayton, Columbus, Cincinnati, everybody there, and you shot everybody out. Like, this is, you're an inclusive human being. You would put the entire state on your back. 100%. You know what I mean? And I think that, and in a really thoughtful way, because you are a thoughtful individual. Like, you're thinking through the process. I know from even our photo shoot, you know what I mean? It's a constant thought process, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But, you know, I remember, you know, a lot of like my childhood having little Matchbox cars. I remember my mom's Barracuda. I remember an 83 Buick Regal, black on the outside, tan on the inside, a little black and mild. We called it way back when I was fly, when I was 13 or whatever. I must have been calling it that.
It's definitely
anyway,
a black and mild.
I may have made that up just right now. But car culture is huge. And this was something that was like so integral in your visuals that were being created for this album, like even far beyond, I think, what even was able to be communicated in certain moments, right? Tell me what that is. Tell me about car culture, driving around. You know, you have tunes that touch on it. Booming, System on Loud, Chevelle, the ill tune with Rashad. Like, you touch on it heavily throughout. I want you to speak to that.
Yeah, I mean,
the
culture of the cars in Ohio. I mean, you're gonna see everything from, like you said, a Buick to a Camaro to an old school Porsche to an old school Bentley. Like, car culture is just so heavy in Ohio. I think mainly one because a lot of the cars were made there, especially American cars. Sure. And you know, people are, you know, our grandparents, our uncles, our dads, our older brothers, even the homies in the hood was always working on cars or around cars. To me, that's me just growing up. And every time I walked outside the house, whether it was to go to school or whether it was in the summertime and I was just going to the park or I was going up the street to get some soda and some chips, you know what I mean? It was somebody outside, either in the trunk or under the hood fixing up the engine, or in the trunk fixing up a system, and you would crowd around this, or you would just kind of observe and have conversation around this car. But there was always music coming from this car. And every time you would drive, every time this car was completed, so to say, if the system was complete, the engine was complete, you know, the wheels was new, whatever, the first thing you say is, yo, let's take this ride. Yeah. You know, and then the first 100%. Thing you do is pop in something good to listen to for that ride. And that was so important to me because music was so pivotal at that moment, because it took you to a place and it almost helped you enjoy that car a little bit more, and the time you put into it, because you might have spent hours, days, months working on this car to the same album, to the same song even. Yeah. So when you get in the car, you got to ride to that same song. You can't just, have that song playing the whole time as you was working on it, but you can't take it for the ride, you know what I'm saying? So that's what the car culture is that important to me, because that's what I remember from it.
Yeah. No, man, it's for me, driving is like freedom, and I think that's, it touches on one of your tunes called "Free," that is actually a tune that I would bump.
And that's another thing. It is freedom. It's a space where you can not be bothered, and you can kind of zone out. You can be personal and intimate with that music or with that artist that you're listening to. And it's definitely a privilege that once they strip it from you, it's crippling to me. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I have a random question. What are your favorite 5 cars?
Ooh.
I just want to know. Because you mentioned Chevelles, Impala 64s, 83 Mercedes 380 SL, Alpina BMW. Like, I know that you're an old school cat.
I love Alpinas, though. That would probably be one. 87 Monte Carlo. I like El Caminos. I like 76 Chevelle. 6.4 Impala. What else? Depends
on the day.
Yeah, it does. But I love Corvettes.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Me too.
IROCs, Z28s.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, so
Cool.
I'm a
I was just curious. That was a personal thing. I have another random question too. The Ohio sample. Where did that come from?
Rashad. I don't
Yeah?
know where he got that from.
That's you?
Where'd you get that from?
Ohio. All right, man. Yeah, keep it a secret.
I don't
It
know
sounded
whose
like
voice that
an
is
operator
either.
when I was younger, like from a dial tone thing, but then I'm old, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we used to have people patching in, you know, and carrier pigeons.
Right,
That's
right.
all we had, man, when I was.
Yeah.
But I'm going to touch on LeBron a little bit. How many points would you score against LeBron? You're a baller, you know, from the Maslin days. We talked about
Today?
that a little bit. Yeah, today, back then.
Today I probably would score 10.
10?
Yeah.
And a game of 21?
Yeah, nah, I mean, I thought you was talking about 4 quarters.
Full quarters?
A game of 21,
I'll
I don't
take
know,
it.
I might not score against you.
He's quite solid, man.
You know, I'm going to need some help. I'm going to need a pick or two, you know what I'm saying?
There it is. There it is, man. Look, I have 3 tunes that have, like, really, 4 for that matter, that have really jumped into top position for me, right? What It Be Like, Nipsey Hussle is the homie.
Yes.
I find that there's an amazing parallel between you and him in a lot of ways. Like, you know, I had the pleasure working with him in Compton. We shut down, like, Crenshaw and Slauson at 5 in the afternoon, walking in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
That's-
You know, but
that's his
there's a
hood over
humility to him that I find that you have. He's got a presence that's really calm. How did you come to work with him, and what does that song mean to you?
I think that's that, you know, like friends, being like-minded, having the same goals, being driven by the same, you know, things as far as just accomplishing and or wanting to accomplish in music. You know, I used to work at A-Life. And, you know, not too far from here. And he used to come in there when I used to work. You know, this is when he was first starting. I think he might have just put out his first mixtape. It might have been called Crenshaw, I think. And, you know, we used to vibe and just talk. And now that I'm here, you know, we still have that same kind of friendship. Even with that record, you know, when I was out in L.A., he asked me to come to the studio just to play him some of my album because he had heard word of mouth that my album was incredible through mutual friends. And he was like, man, I just want to hear it. So I went out to the studio, played him some records. He heard that record and was like, I got to jump on that. Like, you got to let me get on that. So I was like, you the homie.
It's
like,
so
of course.
cool, man.
And, you know, again, I think that when you make music with friends, it shows. And that's why I wanted that record is one of, you know, the best records on that album.
August Alsina, somehow he's so smooth, man. Like, I don't know, like, how did you kind of curate and say, all right, this is a cat that's going to make the album? Like, how did that relationship come to be?
Again, a friend, you know what I'm saying? Somebody that I met, we vibed, we share a lot of the same sensibilities, you know what I mean? So it was just about hearing the record, and I heard his voice automatically on it. I reached out, let him hear it. He heard it. He was like, yo, I got to jump on that. You know, immediately. So he sent it back. Like, he was so excited about it. Like, he sent me like a little video of him doing it in the studio, you know what I mean? Which I thought was cool. And that's always, again, it makes the music so much better when people are excited about working with each other. And it shows through the, you know, through the music.
There's an honesty, and it goes back to you being a thoughtful guy. I think that anybody that you're going to bring into your cipher is also going to have those same sensibilities.
Of course.
You know, and the rest of it is like, you can be cordial and nice and respectful. Manners are, you know, are key throughout, but yeah, man, keep it pushing. You ain't making the album, man.
Exactly.
Always Into Something, Ty Dolla $ign is also incredible. Intelligent trunk music at its finest, in my opinion. You know, which I want to touch on, and I know since we're wrapping it up, I think the most different and special tune on your entire album, at least for me personally, and something different that really honestly does create a new sound, I think, your own unique sound, which is all the way through, but I think when I spoke to you, you said that this was the biggest kind of get for the album, and that's Navajo Rugs with De La Soul. This was somehow something that hit a different chord with you. Explain the entire tune, and finally, I guess, a final question, what it means to be a classic, as that is part of that tune.
Yeah,
and I'll wrap it up, and then I'll open it up for questions.
Okay. Well, Navajo Rugs came about of you. The title and the concept for the song came about of me just being a lover of the rugs. You know what I mean? Like, I love Navajo rugs, blankets, etc. So I was online one time just looking through, trying to find a rug.
This is so dope. You guys are being led into some special ash right now.
This is kind of nerdy, but I was actually online looking
real
for a rug, and as I'm doing so, I start to read like about the I guess the way they create these rugs, the all the intricacies that come into it, and how they align the designs and the textures and different things with the sun and the moon and the stars and the way the world is turning and a wind or whatever it is. So I'm like, man, it's so much thought, so much spiritual, spirituality that goes into these rugs, and people do what? They walk over these rugs, they wipe their feet on them, they lay on them, whatever, they throw them to the side. And I was like, man, that kind of reminds me of like my rhymes. Like I feel like I put so much time, so much energy, so much of my spirit and my soul into this music, and sometimes people just brush past it because they want to hear something, I guess, not lyrical or the turn up or whatever it is. So I'm like, man, Navajo rugs. And then reaching out to the legends, De La Soul, who again are friends, and I did shows with them over in Czech Republic. And when I first met them and I seen them down at South by Southwest, I hit up Pos and was like, man, I would love for you guys to complete this concept and idea that I have of this record. Would you mind getting on it? And he was like, I'll be honored, and then that's how it came about.
Man, I love it.
Yeah.
Look, I know we have to open it up, man. I just wanted to say that I have a couple of pictures to actually show you. Can I do that real quick? 2 seconds. Hold on. I got my clicker. So don't be scared, man. Don't be scared.
I want to see.
So I just wanted to let you guys into a couple of little things. It's left and right? Here we go. Hopefully. I had the privilege of kind of going back to Massillon with you. It was amazing to see everybody react in such a different, wide range of communities. White, black, red, purple was just coming up to you, paying respect, paying homage, like easy to laugh, easy to enjoy yourself, like laughing with some woman who I still have on Facebook.
That's where I grew up at.
This is, right in front of your house. Just people like, these little kids wilding out. This is one of my favorites, man. This is a really humble day of kind of walking through Massillon. Take us through a little bit.
2128, that's where I grew up at as a kid. That little awning that was right there, I used to dribble and shoot basketball on top of that like all day and drive my mom crazy. I'm sorry, like crazy. But, it was just, it was better than going roaming the neighborhood. So
that's cool. What it is, man. And you were welcome back, man. You know what I mean? For sure. It's another Massillon thing. Tigers, people calling out, girls driving by in Jeeps. I don't know if you remember any of this, man. The heavy Massillon representation. I'm going to rip through these quickly, man, because I know we want to get to these kids' questions, right?
That's my high school. Looks like a NFL stadium.
Yo, Harsh Ave, right on the corner. That's where you went to school.
That's the hood right there, Harsh Ave and 16th Street. For those who are familiar with my music from before, I had a record called Harsh Ave. People used to be like, that's a dope title of a song, but that's really where I grew up at, you know what I'm saying? And it was really harsh over there, like, and right there, Harsh and 16th, a lot of
it's a heavy
criminal
activity,
man. Happened.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is in Cleveland, again, kind of roaming around, spending time. I thought that was a nice, humble moment of reverence.
Yeah.
At least that was my interpretation. This gets into the album cover now. Heavy-ass car.
That's home right there.
Always representing that Cleveland. Just sharing. Yeah. Sharing is caring,
One of the best to do it right here.
Yo, and the cars.
When you are in the Midwest, excuse my chest, ladies, but
it being so big and brolic. I know. The drool is happening. The drool is real.
But when you in the Midwest, every dude is like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I really wanted to capture on this album cover, is that essence right there, like this right here too, like that house, that shirt off, that smoke, like everything like that. This is what you see when you walk down a neighborhood in Ohio.
Yeah, and this was real, man.
Urban neighborhood in Ohio. So.
There's some different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
A little tighter in some ways. No, it was an incredible session. I will say, it's like 3 days worth of work.
Yeah.
And we landed all this stuff within the last hour.
Yeah.
Pitch black, in the rain, like total dedication to making it right. And
definitely.
I appreciate you pushing me as far to reveal what was in that special lockbox in your brain, man. Thank you for letting me in.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. These are my two favorites. I'm going to end with that, and then we'll put the album cover back up. I don't know. It's just like, it's a movie, as Ross said. Yeah. It's a movie.
That's somebody waiting to do something bad.
Yeah. So we're going to leave it at that, man. I appreciate your time. They appreciate your time. It's an honor share a couple of
Definitely.
moments with you.
Nah,
up here.
man. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you.
Definitely.
One time for Jonathan Mannion, Ohio's own, one of the best photographers to ever do it. I appreciate you being a part of this for me. Like, it means
Classic.
a lot. Yeah, definitely.
I too will last forever.
Yes, it will.
With everybody else on there, man.
Yes.
God bless.
So what's going on?
What's going on?
My name is Robert. I don't have a website or anything like that. So, I've been listening to your music for a while, and I was recently listening to the Combat Jack show, and you was talking about, going to LIU and living in Brooklyn. How did that inspire, or what music was you listening to at that time that helps you develop your own style in general?
Oh man, when I was at good question. When I was at LIU, I listened to a little bit of everything. Like I was listening to Mos Def. I was listening to E40. I was listening to Jay-Z, Nas. I remember the first time I heard Ether was in the dorms in LIU. We all had the debates of who was better, Jay-Z or Nas. So my homies from Brooklyn, they was from East New York actually. I kept telling them, I'm like, watch, Nas gonna get Jay-Z, watch, And then they was like, nah. So then I remember, I think Flex or somebody was going crazy with the record, and he came banging on my door like, turn it on Hot 97 right now. Like, and then Ether was playing, and I was just like, wow. That's crazy. So that was the type of music that I was listening to. I was listening to a lot of reggae too. Like I was listening to a lot of Stone Love. When you can get the mixed CDs 3 for $5, and the one CD had like 96 songs on them. Like yeah. All the different same rhythms on the So I was yeah. So I did a lot of that too.
Stalley, what up, man?
What's going on?
Big
How you
gang,
doing?
baby.
Thank you for
All right.
coming out.
Yo, so growing up in Harsh Ave, what are some of the difficulties and hardships you had to go through, and how did it kind of mold you to be the artist you are today?
Man, just living in a single parent home, like that was probably the hardest, obstacle for me, like, and my mom. But, like we struggled. My mom worked a job that probably paid $5.75 an hour, you know what I'm saying? And she had me and my sister, and it was just times where, I wouldn't get, anything for school or like back to school or anything for Christmas. And the thing that kept me grounded was really sports, and my mom just staying close to me and always having, wise words to tell me, because it was so easy to walk outside and get like an 8-ball and just sell dope, you know what I'm saying? Because anybody would front you that, you know what I mean? And so that was really just, I guess, what made me the man I was, because it was so easy to do it, but I resisted, and I think I still resist a lot of temptation and wrongdoings now to stay, myself and humble. So yeah.
Hello, hi Stalley.
How you doing?
513 representing Ohio, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati in the building. Thank you.
My question to you is, I'm fresh to New York,
Yes.
educator, but how do you, I guess both of you, keep your, it's different. New York is tough.
Big time.
So how do you stay Ohio and not convert to the roughness of New York and keep that down home self? And I don't want to get eaten alive here,
Yeah.
so, but I want to stay Ohio. That's where I'm from.
I'm gonna be honest, you can't, man. It's a jungle out here. Like, for real. I was much nicer when I first came here, trust me. You just can't. You just gotta adapt, When in Rome, do as Romans. So, but New York is great, and it's great people here, you know what I mean? Just like it is in Ohio. And I've met some of the best friends that I've ever met in my life. Some people that I've known all my life aren't even as, I guess, humble and nice and caring and open up their homes to me. Like I spent, months and years sleeping on floors and couches, and people opened up, and I lived in some rough neighborhoods, but it was still a door or a bed or a house for me to stay in. So, I love New York City for that.
How's it going, man?
How you doing?
I'm good. I've been following you since Address, since the DD 172 era.
Yes.
My question is basically like this. I noticed that like a lot of artists, they go from independent, like Currency and everything like that, and when they go to a major label and everything like that, their music is completely 180. It goes from like rap to like disco or something. How do you maintain that substance? Like, you still, like, for God's sakes, you got De La Soul out of left field. Nobody really knows the stakes is high, but how did you maintain that substance with like Ross? Like, how did you do that? Like I don't know. Like, I'm usually, when you think of the transitions, just watered down. How do you maintain that that substance still. Because I feel like when I'm listening to this, I still feel like it's 2011 with the Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln Way Nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about knowing your worth and knowing what you stand for and having a voice, and being with Ross. Ross is such a intelligent dude and such a hip hop dude that he understands, and he's a good middleman to the label to kind of express what I want to do and my vision. And honestly, without him or without somebody like that, it's kind of hard sometimes. But also, I can't even give him all the credit because my label is definitely supportive of what I do, and they behind me full 100% as well.
Okay. By the way, Gentleman's Quarterly is still one of my favorite songs.
Mine too. So thank you.
What's up, Stalley?
What's going on?
I work for A-Life also. So,
Oh, love, yeah.
my question is, since you worked at A-Life and you were around that lifestyle, how did you build your culture and your lifestyle and stay consistent as the artist you are with your music, with working at A-Life and then being from Cleveland? Because I have family in Ohio also, so
Yeah.
I know the difference between New York and here. Like, how did you stay consistent and then get the opportunity to work at a company that has such a lifestyle and stays true to itself and not change who you are throughout the process of being the artist you are?
Yeah, I think that's what they seen, because believe it or not, like A-Life reached out to me, to work there, and it's crazy because, I've worked every job in New York City, honestly, and I was working at Sharper Image, right? And Sharper Image was closing, going out of business. The same day it went out of business, we breaking down, we moving fixtures or whatever. Like, literally, this was going to be my last day coming in the store. And my homie Dice, I don't know if you remember, Dice, he called me and was like, yo, A-Life wants you to work there. Like, come through, meet the bosses. And I was like, all right. I went there that same day. Was my last day. I got hired that same day. But it was because I was so embedded in the culture of streetwear and in New York City, and I always stayed myself, and I always was humble and respectable when I came in there, that they was like, man, that's the type of character or type of person we would want to work in our company. And at that time, we were opening up a new store as well, ARC Sports, and they wanted me to kind of spearhead and manage that spot. So it was a great opportunity. Like I said, like I was telling her, like I met some great people in New York who really accepted me as who I was and as one of their own as well. And I'm, grateful for that.
Can we give them a round of applause? Everybody buy the album
Appreciate it.
immediately, if not sooner.